Hello students. For the notes for today, I wanted to go over our history of Islam. I'm going to backtrack and kind of go over our origins and the spread of Islam to get us started here because it's been a while since before break that we looked at this, and then I'm going to bring us up to the rest of the rightly guided caliphs or caliphs up through the Ottoman Empire. So that's what we're going to look at here with this presentation. Islam, like Christianity and Judaism, traces its origins back to Abraham. Ishmael was Abraham's son and is seen as the father of all Arabs, therefore the ancestor to the first Muslims. So this family tree kind of shows that. So we look back at Judaism here, and we see Abraham with Sarah. He had the son Isaac, and he had two sons, Esau and Jacob had the 12 tribes of Israel. But with Hagar, with the servant girl, Abraham had the son Ishmael, and that was the older son, and the 12 Arabian tribes, right? That's who they trace their lineage back to. In terms of that Arabic history and Islamic history. So the prophets of Islam, Muslims believe that Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus were all prophets. Difference between Christianity and Islam is that Muslims don't believe that Jesus was the son of God. They believe that he was a man and he was a prophet, and that Muhammad is the final prophet. So he was the one that came with the final message from God. We know that he was born in Mecca. He was a descendant of Ishmael. He worked as a merchant. He would go to a cave, and that was when he meditated and he received his first revelation from the angel Gabriel from God. Muhammad was threatened in Mecca for his teachings, and he fled to Medina, Yathrib, which was renamed Medina, and then Islam grew from there, and he came back to retake Mecca. After several battles, the Muslims won. The Kaaba was rededicated to Allah, and the entire population converts to Islam. In 632, Muhammad dies, leaving no successor. He had no son, so nobody to pass this caliphate onto. This he had not only become a religious leader, but also a political leader as well. At his death, nearly all of Arabia, so that entire Arabian Peninsula, including Saudi Arabia and Yemen and Oman, is Muslim. This I wanted to show you is the Kaaba. You can see back here, but this is a picture of the pilgrimage to Mecca. Obviously, it didn't look like this year because of COVID, but so this is where we kind of get into the next section. This is where I'll have you guys take notes. On a sheet of loose leaf paper, you can do this, or on the Google Doc that I've provided. With each section that we're going to go through, the rightly guided caliphs, the Umayyad caliphs, the Abbasid caliphs, and the Ottomans, I want you to include the time frame that we're talking about in that history. So starting here with 632 until 661, and then what happened during that time frame. So talking about our 4 different leaders here, I know this kind of also recaps something that we did before break, but just talking about the expansion of Muslim rule. So what happened during this time period, Jerusalem falling or becomes Muslim from Christian control, and the solidification of the Quran, the spread of Islam, so from the Arabian Peninsula, conquering more lands, and this map shows a good expansion of the caliphate under the Prophet Muhammad, and then under the not Umayyad caliphs, the rightly guided caliphs, is this more orangey color. So we start to see it spread more into modern day Iraq and Iran, and into northern Africa as well. The Umayyad caliphs were your years here, 662 to 749. Uthman's cousin takes control after Ali's death, and they continue Muslim expansion from China and India to North Africa and most of Spain. Arabic is made the official language, and they construct the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. They did have internal conflict and challenge from Ali's descendants continue, so we're going to learn more about this later on this week when we talk about the different denominations of Islam. But this is a picture of the Dome of the Rock. So this is the holy site for Muslims in Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is the holy city for Muslims, Christians, and Jews, and this is the holy site for Jewish people. It's the Dome of the Rock. You can see that beautiful architecture there. Again, this map shows you the expansion of Islam under the Umayyad Caliphs. So it adds into this green territory. So you can see here northern Africa into Spain, and again to the east to China and India. The Abbasid dynasty is the next Muslim empire. They ruled from 750 to 1258 when they will be conquered by the Ottomans. They claim to be descendants of Muhammad's uncle. They overthrew the Umayyad caliphs. They made the Islamic capital Baghdad, so this is getting to modern-day Iraq. Fight off foreign attacks, learning and education flourished during this time period. We can thank them for geometry, algebra, astrology. Attacks from the northern tribe called the Turks will lead to their collapse, so this is going to lead into the Ottoman Empire, but we can see the amount of control that they had over this expansion into really even further from, as you can see here, further in Africa from the Umayyad caliphs. And then finally that brings us to the Ottoman Empire. So again, going over these years, again, you can use this as your time period. So 1259 to 922, the Ottoman or Turkish Empire. The Ottomans were Turkish. Their capital was in Istanbul. They were Muslim, and they were the largest empire in the world. They controlled trade because of their strategic location in Turkey. They controlled that east to west trade route. They had control of the waterways. They grew very wealthy from that trade, and they had superior technology to the militaries around them. It was against the Ottoman Turks that the Crusades were fought. Leading up to the Ottoman Turks, that the Christian Crusades were fought. The Christians achieved limited success. They were unable to hold their conquest of Islamic possessions. Saladin was the greatest Islamic warrior, and he is the one who's going to bring about the end of the Crusades when he takes back over Jerusalem. By the late 13th century, so late 1200s, they had solidified control of the Islamic world in the Middle East and North Africa, and by 1453 they conquered Constantinople and then began expansion into southern Europe. So we can see here the Ottomans control their acquisitions that they make during this time period as they spread from into Africa and then even more into southeast Europe and the territory that they controlled there. In fact, they were one of the biggest threats to the empires and the kingdoms in Europe. The kingdoms in Europe greatly feared the Ottoman Empire and the Turkish Empire and their influence as they continued to expand into southeastern Europe, spreading their culture and their religion. So here you can see it at its greatest extent by the 1600s. By the late 18th century, there was a significant decline in the Ottoman Empire. They had weak leadership, and European imperialism had really caused a loss of power throughout the region. The empire was forced to make military alliances with European powers in order to survive. So, as you can see here, this is the territory, like they kind of hit their peak in the 1600s, and then the territory that they lost leading up to the outset of World War I here. So the Ottoman Empire is really just a dwindling version of its past self by the time it gets to that point. By the time that we're on the cusp of World War I, with war imminent, the Ottoman Empire joins Turkey and Austria-Hungary in the Triple Alliance, and we all know what happens there. They are going to lose this war. So the empire is going to end for three reasons. Number one is nationalism. The people that were ruled under the Ottoman Empire, right, they were ruled by an empire, but they had their own nationalities, they had their own ethnicities, they had their own languages, they had their own religion, and they wanted to be independent. European imperialism had continuously cracked away at their empire in Europe and in Asia. And then when they decided to fight in World War I, they fought and they lost in World War I. So in 1922, the Ottoman Empire is officially dissolved. It is divided. Its territory is divided into colonies of Great Britain and France. We talked about the Balfour Declaration before. This is when Great Britain is going to vow support for the creation of a Jewish state in Palestine, which was part of the Ottoman Empire's territory, and now it is going to be transferred to, as a protectorate, to Great Britain, and the State of Israel, we know, is going to be created in 1948 from this time period of this territorial acquisition from the Ottoman Empire to the British. It marks the end of the last great Islamic empire. Turkey is going to become a republic. but they lose all of that territory. So this is what happens. This is what becomes of the Ottoman Empire. So again, all of these are territories that they had lost previous to World War I. But you can see here Syria, the Emirate of Transjordan, Iraq, the Mandate of Palestine, Lebanon. These are going to become, this is what had been left of Turkey, of the Ottoman Empire. And these two, the green here, Syria and Lebanon, will become French mandates, which is a fancier term for colonies. And then the red here, Iraq, Transjordan, and Palestine, are going to become the British domain. This down here as well will also, and we know the countries that are going to be created out of this later on. So this will become the Kingdom of Jordan, this will become Iraq, and this will become Israel later on. So that is a quick recap of the history of Islam. Again, your notes are what you're going to turn into me for this as your exit slip for what these notes were about. And we're going to talk about this. I can recap and answer any questions for you guys come Wednesday when we have our Google Meet. Have a great day.